Welcome back to the Motivated Mind Zone. Glad to have you here. Today, we're undertaking, well, a really critical mission for anyone who's truly aiming for advanced fluency in English.
Hmm.
We are going to be dissecting what we're calling linguistic landmines, those 35-plus words that routinely trip up even highly proficient speakers.
They really do.
Our focus is absolutely on precision,
Yeah.
mastering not just the definition, but the exact phonetic mechanics that grant true authority when you speak.
That's exactly right. This deep dive is all about transforming your clarity and, crucially, your confidence. We've synthesized a collection of words that pose these unique phonetic and structural challenges, silent letters, stress patterns that feel wrong somehow,
Mm.
and those tricky foreign roots English just loves to borrow.
Yeah, it
And nailing these is necessary for moving beyond just competence toward, well, true linguistic command.
For advanced learners, getting these specific words right is just key. When you deploy these terms precisely, especially thinking about their pronunciation in the right context, you signal something important. You signal to your audience that you're not just capable of speaking the language, but that you've actually mastered its intricate history and nuance. We're aiming to train both your ear and your speech muscles today.
Absolutely. We'll go deeper than just the dictionary definition. We're focusing on precise pronunciation mechanics, identifying those hidden stress points that are so easy to miss, and demonstrating sophisticated, confident usage with examples. We've organized the words into logical categories. We'll start with identity and truth, then move through description, social analysis, and we'll finish up with that notorious spelling minefield.
Sounds like a plan. Let's begin our exploration then with Section 1, the language of assertion and authenticity. So these are words dealing with identity, agreement, truth. And they often get tricky because of silent letters or stressed patterns that just don't feel intuitive.
Right. And our very first term is accede. The pronunciation is accede.
Okay, accede. So that second syllable stress, that seed, that sounds paramount.
It really is.
If you miss that emphasis, you sort of lose the word's weight.
Right.
The flow is off. You have to hit it. Accede.
Precisely. Now, to accede means to agree or consent or yield to requests. But here's the critical nuance for you as an advanced speaker. It carries a significant weight that simple agreement just doesn't have.
Oh,
When you
really?
accede, you often imply giving in, maybe after some initial resistance or perhaps lengthy deliberation, even formal negotiation. It inherently carries the weight of concession.
Right, I see. So think about those high-stakes situations, maybe politics or business.
Exact.
For example, you might say, after weeks of intense deliberation, the large corporation reluctantly acceded to the union demands.
Perfect example. That phrasing suggests the corporation resisted, maybe until the very last moment, highlighting how difficult that concession was for them. And conversely, it's used to describe resistance, too. So when a pundit notes that the government refuses to accede to the protest or requests, that single verb choice signals a really firm, unyielding stance.
Yeah, a formal refusal to yield.
Exactly. It's a formal powerhouse verb, much sharper than just agree. Synonyms like assent, comply, or concur capture that necessary formality.
Got it. Okay, moving on.
Okay.
Our second word deals with identity. Alias. Pronunciation.
Alias.
Alias. The spelling's a little deceptive for the sound, I think, but the meaning seems straightforward. A false or assumed name.
It is, but the application to alias is incredibly pervasive. It
Yeah.
extends far beyond just the realm of crime.
Right.
While, yes, a suspect might give an alias to the police to try and evade detection, its use in professional and creative fields is constant.
Absolutely. Think about authors or artists using an alias or what we might also call a pseudonym or a sobriquet. Mark Twain is maybe the most famous example, Samuel Clemens using Mark Twain. They use it to maintain privacy or maybe to separate their personal life from their professional persona, carving out a specific public identity.
And of course, in modern digital life, millions use an alias online. It might be a really highly crafted handle like Shadow Writer or just a simple screen name. It's about publishing anonymously or maintaining that separation from their real-world identity.
So the sophisticated speaker uses alias when that assumed name implies a specific function, or like a deliberate masking.
Precisely.
Okay. Next up is a word that captures profound moral intensity. Anathema. Pronounce anathema.
Anathema.
Mm.
And for this one, mastering the stress is vital. You've got to focus on that strong second syllable, anathema.
It sounds strong.
It does, because it describes something that is utterly detested, cursed, or maybe even formally condemned by a group or belief system. It's way stronger than simply saying you dislike something.
Right. So this word describes a deep, principled revulsion. It operates on a kind of philosophical scale. For a dedicated vegan, for instance, the whole idea of factory farming is often an anathema. It's morally despicable, fundamentally opposed to their core beliefs.
Exactly. And in formal settings, you find it used to emphasize that kind of moral incompatibility. An organization might declare that corruption and bribery are an anathema to its mission.
Meaning they're fundamentally antithetical to its purpose.
Precisely. Using anathema elevates the concept of disapproval right up to the level of fundamental moral rejection.
Given how powerful and formal anathema is, are there risks in using it too often? Like, could it make someone sound overly dramatic in just a casual chat?
That's a really great point. Because of its weight, its gravity, if you apply anathema to something minor like, I don't know, traffic delays or bad coffee, you risk inflating the severity of the issue and actually undermining your own authority. It should definitely be reserved for those things that truly inspire revulsion or fundamental opposition.
Okay. So use with care.
Yeah.
Abomination or bane might be synonyms, but also high intensity.
Exactly. Sparingly.
Right. Finally, in this opening section, we have apocryphal, pronounced apocryphal.
Apocryphal. The phonetic challenge here is hitting that P stress distinctly and also making sure the R sound in the middle isn't swallowed. Apocryphal. That clean articulation marks a fluent speaker.
Apocryphal. Okay, so apocryphal describes something of doubtful authenticity or truth. It indicates a story is widely circulated, maybe widely believed, but is likely unverified, exaggerated, or spurious, like a story that feels true but probably isn't.
Yes, the classic context involves historical accounts or folklore where details just get twisted over time. Think of those colorful, unverified tales surrounding a hero's life. They add great flavor to the legend, but lack hard, verifiable evidence.
Like the story of George Washington chopping down the cherry tree.
That's often cited as a perfect example of an apocryphal anecdote. Widely told, feels illustrative, but historical proof. Very thin.
I see the crucial distinction here then. An apocryphal tale isn't necessarily a malicious lie intended to deceive.
Not usually, no.
It's often just folklore or rumor that is unintentionally sort of solidified into perceived fact through sheer repetition.
Precisely. So if you hear an anecdote that feels suspiciously neat, or maybe too colorful to be historically sound, you can categorize it pretty quickly as apocryphal. Widely believed, but probably unsubstantiated. Synonyms would include fictitious, spurious, or doubtful.
That sets us up nicely to shift gears. Let's move to section 2, measuring sound, atmosphere, and emotion. These words let us describe those more intangible qualities like sound texture, subtle air movement, deep temperament, but with real precision.
Exactly. We begin with timbre, pronunciation, timbre.
Timbre. Okay, this is a tricky one because its French origin completely dictates the pronunciation, right?
Yeah.
It often confuses English speakers who mistakenly try to pronounce it more like the word for wood, timbre.
That's the common mistake. That French influence, which gives us that slightly nasalized am sound, is key. Timbre. Timbre describes the unique quality, color, or texture of a musical sound, or, importantly, a voice. It is, as you said before, the sonic fingerprint.
Right. It's what distinguishes, say, a trumpet from a clarinet playing the exact same note. It's about the distinct harmonics, the overtone structure.
Oh.
And for advanced usage, we can apply this to human speech and even the environment, too.
Absolutely. For instance, a drama critic might write, "The actor delivered his lines in a low, metallic timbre, signaling cold calculation." The word choice paints a picture.
Yeah, vividly.
Or we can use it to describe environmental acoustics. The specific timbre of the choir was enhanced, seeming to warm and deepen in the cavernous acoustics of the old chapel.
So timbre feels like a superior choice to just tone or texture because it implies a more scientific understanding of sound quality. It's much more precise.
It really is. Now, contrasting that complex sound, our next word describes a very light movement and atmosphere. Zephyr, pronounced Z-E-F-R.
Z-E-F-R. The word itself even sounds soft, doesn't it? Matching its meaning.
It does. Zephyr means a gentle, mild breeze, and it's beautifully poetic. It draws directly from classical mythology, from the Greek god Zephyrus, the god of the west wind, who was known for being soft and pleasant.
Ah, interesting.
So you use zephyr when you want to describe really delicate, almost imperceptible air movement. You'd never use it for a harsh wind or a gust. Visualize, perhaps, a soft zephyr rustled the ancient leaves of the coastal trees, barely audible.
It instantly elevates the description, makes it more literary. You might say, the sheer curtains flutter gently in the zephyr from the open window, painting a picture of subtle, light air movement and calmness. It turns a mundane description into a moment.
Beautifully put. Now, moving from soft air to intense formalized emotion, we have wrath, pronounced wrath.
Wrath. And we absolutely must emphasize that short A sound here, right? Like the A in cat, wrath. Many speakers might mistakenly stretch it, or maybe drop the R sound somehow.
That short A is critical. Wrath. Wrath means intense anger, fury, or rage. It comes from Old English, and its formal, slightly archaic nature means it conveys extreme severity, often long-lasting anger, or even divine anger.
So it's reserved for dramatic or formal contexts, operating on a grand or epic scale.
Definitely. You wouldn't use this if you were just merely frustrated about, say, spilling your coffee.
No. Instead, you might describe a dramatic scenario where someone had to maybe face the impending wrath of his company's board after the massive financial blunder. That indicates a punishment far beyond just a telling off.
Exactly. And of course, the primary classical example is in mythology or religious texts. The god's wrath was legendary, capable of monumental devastation. When you deploy wrath, you are signaling fury operating on a systemic or monumental scale.
Got it. Finally, in this descriptive group, we have a powerful adjective for demeanor. Truculent. Pronounced T-Ju-agulant.
Jurisculant. Clear articulation is key here, breaking down those three distinct syllables. A slurred middle syllable completely muddies the word.
T-R-U-H-Q-ulant.
Okay.
So truculent means aggressive, hostile, or combative. It describes a disposition where someone isn't just easily angered, but seems actively eager for a fight or an argument.
Yes, it's not passive aggression, it's active belligerence. This manifests in overtly challenging and often unpleasant behavior. A literary critic, perhaps, might write unnecessarily truculent reviews, shocking readers with their sheer hostility and their desire to just pick a fight with the author.
Or you could imagine a negotiator who, when challenged politely, becomes instantly truculent and belligerent. It implies a fiercely defiant, confrontational nature. It's a really powerful descriptor for characterizing negative, combative temperament.
It is. Belligerent, defiant, or aggressive are good synonyms. And that sets the stage nicely for Section 3, the language of social structure and manipulation.
Okay.
These terms are pretty indispensable for political and social commentary relating directly to power dynamics, class, and group relations.
Right. And we'll start with demagogue, pronounced demagogue, with the stress squarely on that first syllable. Demagogue.
Demagogue. This term is highly relevant in current political discourse, of course, but its origin is ancient Greece, where it initially just meant a leader of the people. However, the definition evolved quite significantly to describe a very specific type of manipulative leadership.
Okay, so what's the modern meaning? A demagogue is a leader who gains power not through rational policy or thoughtful debate, but by appealing primarily to raw emotions, popular prejudices, and fear. Often by identifying and railing against some kind of manufactured enemy or scapegoat.
Exactly. And the mechanism is what's critical for the advanced listener to grasp. The demagogue thrives on polarization. They employ inflammatory rhetoric specifically designed to bypass the intellect and simply inflame the anger or fear of their base, you see.
Yeah, I do. They substitute rational discussion with emotional fervor.
That's it. So, recognizing the signs of a demagogue is essential for critical thinking and, frankly, civic awareness. The goal is to identify a leader using emotional agitation, a rabble rouser or agitator, rather than intellectual persuasion to secure public support.
Got it. Okay, moving to a word central to sociological and economic discussions. Proletariat. Pronounced proletariat.
Proletariat. That middle section, Terry, requires careful articulation. It's easy to stumble over.
Proletariat. Proletariat fundamentally refers to the working class, particularly in the classical Marxist sense, right? It specifically denotes laborers who possess no means of production other than their own labor, which they have to sell for wages to survive.
That's the core definition. And while the industrial proletariat of the 19th century has evolved, the term remains essential for discussing modern economic stratification and social struggles. Sociologists still use it to discuss the relationship between, say, the masses, low-wage laborers, and capital owners today.
So we see usage examples constantly in critical theory, literature, history, focusing on the struggles associated with this class. Like, the novel vividly depicted the grinding poverty and struggle for survival faced by the city's proletariat. It highlights that economic vulnerability.
Precisely. It's a key concept, emphasizing the lack of ownership and control over the means of livelihood. That's why it remains indispensable in discussions about labor rights, wealth distribution, and social power.
Okay. Next is a deeply negative descriptive term for a personality type. Sycophant. Pronounced sycophufunt. Clean and sharp on that first syllable. Sycophufunt.
Sycophant, yes. A sycophant is essentially a flattering follower or, well, a yes man. They offer insincere praise and subservient flattery merely to gain favor or secure an advantage from a superior. They prioritize their own advancement over honesty.
Right, so they don't offer honest, critical advice. They only tell their superior what they believe that superior wants to hear, which kind of insulates the leader from reality.
Exactly. And there's a strange, fascinating, if somewhat murky etymology here, possibly stemming from Greek words meaning fig shower, maybe related to informing on fig exporters. But the modern meaning is strictly about that insincere flattery.
No. Interesting side note. So this is a powerful cautionary term then. Critical analysis often warns listeners to beware of leaders who surround themselves with sycophants because those leaders inevitably cut themselves off from critical, necessary feedback, often leading to poor decisions.
That's the danger.
So choosing to be honest, even when it's unpopular, is the opposite of being a sycophant. Flatterer, toady, or yes man are all suitable synonyms, but sycophant carries the most, maybe, academic weight.
I'd agree with that. It feels a bit more formal, more analytical.
Okay. Our final word in the social analysis section is hierarchy, pronounced H-Y-E, raki. We need to ensure that initial HY sound is pronounced clearly, like the start of high, followed by that distinct three-part ending. Raki.
Hye, hierarchy, yes. Hierarchy describes a system or organization where people or groups are ranked one above another according to status or authority. It's fundamentally a vertical structure of power and order.
And this structure is just ubiquitous, isn't it? We see it everywhere.
Everywhere.
From the corporate hierarchy defining tiers of managers, to the military's command structure, to a school's hierarchy defining authority from the principal down through teachers and students.
Exactly. So understanding the hierarchy in any given system maps out precisely where power and influence reside and how the formal lines of authority and control actually function. To analyze an organization, you really have to first map its hierarchy.
Makes sense. We've tackled social structure. Now let's look at quantity and circumstance. Our fourth category is abundance, burden, and unexpected turns.
Okay.
Here we're tackling two synonyms for excess that require careful differentiation, which I know trips people up, plus some terms that define core life responsibilities and those inevitable changes we all face.
Right, and that key pain point for advanced learners is definitely the distinction between surfeit, pronounced esserfit, and plethora, pronounced P-L-R-A.
As surfeit and pleth or
Both mean excess or glut, basically a lot, but their connotations, their feeling, are miles apart.
Let's start with surfeit then. If. This word is often associated with overindulgence, right? Or an undesirable excess. It almost always implies a negative consequence, a feeling of being overwhelmed or needing restraint, like satiety but with a negative tinge.
That negative feeling is the absolute key. You might lament having a surfeit of rich, sugary desserts after a huge holiday dinner, feeling oversaturated and maybe even unwell.
Right, been there.
Or a writer might advise printing an essay to avoid a surfeit of unnecessary adjectives because that clutters the prose. The emphasis is on too much, a state that actively needs correction or feels uncomfortable.
Okay. Now, plethora. P-L-E or This also means a surplus or a large amount, but its connotation is usually more neutral or even positive.
Generally, yes. It focuses more on the sheer number, the variety, or the high quantity available. It comes from the Greek word for fullness. So you might happily note that a new online library offers a plethora of rare historical documents. Here, plethora just means a great number and variety, which is clearly an advantage.
But couldn't it still be used in a negative context?
It can describe difficulties, yes. For example, a business might face a plethora of complex regulatory challenges. But the word plethora itself still simply emphasizes the vast number, not necessarily that internal feeling of being overindulged or overwhelmed like surfeit does.
Okay, so let me try and summarize that critical difference. Plethora is often just a lot, focusing on quantity or variety, maybe neutral or good. Surfeit is usually too much, focusing on the negative, overwhelming feeling of having an unwanted excess.
That's a perfect summary. You've nailed it.
Great. Okay, moving to responsibility, we have onus, pronounced O-H-nus.
OH-ness. Simple phonetically, but quite distinctive in its formal use.
Right. Onus means a burden, duty, or responsibility, and it carries significant formal weight, typically dealing with moral, legal, or professional obligations.
Exactly. The word finds its most common usage in legal and formal contexts. For instance, in a complex negotiation, you might hear that the onus was on the defendant to clearly prove his claim, or the onus of proof rests with the plaintiff.
That burden of proof idea.
Precisely. And organizationally, it's a clean, formal way to assign accountability. Accepting the onus of a high-level leadership position means explicitly accepting the burden and the responsibility that naturally comes with that role. It often implies that failure to act would be a moral or professional lapse.
Right, taking on the weight of it.
Yes.
Okay. Our last word in this section captures those inevitable, often difficult changes of life.
Vicissitude. Pronounced V-S-I-S-U-tud. That stress on the second syllable, S-I-S, is crucial, you said.
Absolutely critical, vicissitude.
So vicissitude describes a change or a fluctuation, but typically one that is unwelcome, difficult, or unexpected.
Yes, and note, it is most often used in the plural form, vicissitudes, to describe the rhythm of changes over time, the ups and downs, if you will, that define human existence or long historical periods.
Okay, vicissitudes. And it's reserved for significant, often grand-scale fluctuations.
Generally, yes. A historian might write that the small kingdom experienced profound vicissitudes over a century, including plague, war, and famine. It covers major shifts. But it also applies elegantly to personal life, as long as the changes are significant. Like we might speak of a long marriage surviving the inevitable vicissitudes of time, distance, and shared difficulty.
That's a perfect application. Using vicissitude or vicissitudes implies much more gravity, more weight, than just saying change or fluctuation. It signals significant, often challenging shifts.
Got it. Now we transition into section 5, the challenge of figurative and informal speech.
Right. These are words that describe the very mechanisms of language itself, how we communicate through things like exaggeration, slang, or specialized roles.
We begin with a concept that defines so much of our daily communication. Hyperbole, pronounced hyperbole. Stress on P here.
Hyperbole, yes. Hyperbole is exaggeration used specifically for dramatic or rhetorical effect, and it is so ingrained in our speech we use it constantly without even thinking about it.
Like when a teenager says, this presentation is going to kill me.
Exactly. Perfect hyperbole. No one actually thinks they're going to die.
Right. So for the advanced listener, understanding hyperbole means recognizing that it should never be taken literally. It's just a tool used purely to intensify feeling or humor or drama, both in casual chat and in writing.
It adds color and texture to language. Absolutely essential.
Okay. Next, we address the formidable length of colloquialism, pronounced colloquialism.
Colloquial is managing the complexity of those 5 distinct syllables without swallowing the middle is definitely a challenge. Takes practice.
Colloquialism. So, a colloquialism is an informal spoken expression or a phrase like vernacular or slang that's common in specific region or culture. It sits on that border between standard dictionary English and very casual speech.
Exactly. And this concept is absolutely key for register awareness. Using contractions like gonna for going to or wanna for want to are classic colloquialisms. They make spoken language sound friendly and casual, but you would rigorously avoid them in, say, a formal academic essay or a professional report.
Right. Mastering a language means knowing not just the word itself, but the context and the register where its use is appropriate. Knowing when to use a colloquialism and when to stick to formal language is a real sign of fluency.
Definitely. Now, following that, another word that tests pronunciation, stamina, and understanding, onomatopoeia, pronounced on P-E-E-E.
Onomatopoeia needs breaking down.
It really does. An onomatopoeia is simply a word that explicitly imitates or suggests the source of the sound it describes. The term literally describes the concept of a sound word.
Like buzz, splash, bang, hiss.
Those are the simple examples. But here's where we go a bit deeper for an advanced learner. The fascinating nugget is how these sound representations actually differ across cultures.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, a rooster might say cock-a-doodle-doo in English, but it says kikariki in German or cocorico in French. Dog barks vary to woof versus guau in Spanish.
So even onomatopoeia is culturally filtered. It's not a direct, universal mirror of the sound itself.
Exactly, which is fascinating. Linguistically, it shows how language shapes perception. And of course, it provides powerful literary texture in prose and poetry, letting writers immerse the reader directly in the soundscape of a narrative. A very versatile tool.
Very cool. Our final term in this group is liaison, pronounced liaison.
Liaison. This one is tricky because of that strong French influence, particularly the initial li sound and that soft, almost nasalized zon ending.
And the French root means to link or to bind, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So liaison describes a connection, cooperation, or most commonly, the role of a go-between. It's focused entirely on the function of communication, usually in formal or organizational settings.
Okay. For example, someone might be appointed to act as the liaison between the marketing department and the legal department, just to ensure all the campaign claims are compliant. They're the essential link.
Perfect example. Or, in international relations, a diplomat's job requires them to maintain liaison with foreign partners to keep those diplomatic channels open and functional. It's an indispensable term for describing an intermediary, a link, or a crucial contact point within any complex system.
Got it. Okay, we're now hitting the section that, well, probably causes the most fear and frustration for English learners. Section 6, the minefield section.
Ah, yes, the minefield.
This is where silent or hidden letters completely revolutionize the expected sound structure. Prepare yourselves.
And we have to start with the absolute classic, the quintessential English place name challenge, Worcestershire. Pronounced Worcestershire.
Just look at that spelling. Worcester, and yet it collapses into just 3 short, heavily reduced syllables. Worcestershire.
It just defies all logic.
It really does. The phonetic reduction here is extreme. It's due to a historical sound change called elision, which is quite common in historical English place names. Multiple unstressed consonants just disappear, and vowels reduce right down to the schwa sound, that ooh sound.
Wow. If you can confidently say Worcestershire, you've genuinely conquered a significant linguistic legacy. It's a badge of honor almost.
We encounter this most often when talking about the county in England, of course, or the famous condiment, Worcestershire sauce.
Mm-hmm.
The crucial takeaway seems to be just ignore most of the middle letters entirely.
Yeah, for sure,
Worcestershire.
pretty much. Next up is yacht, pronounced yacht, O-T.
Yo-A-T. All right. The critical misfire here is that silent CH. If you don't know this word, you will almost certainly try to pronounce it as yacht with a chi sound.
Almost guaranteed. This word arrived in English from Dutch or possibly Low German, which is why it retains that strange silent CH spelling that English phonetic rules don't easily accommodate. Yacht simply means a luxurious boat or vessel used for pleasure or racing, almost always associated with wealth and leisure.
So once you accept that the CH is completely silent, the pronunciation is simple, Y-O-T. It's a clear case where you just have to memorize the sound based on its history, not the English spelling.
Exactly. Memorization is key for these odd ones. Following that, we have the legal term indict, pronounced indie.
Indict. Okay, the silent C is the great deceiver here.
Yeah.
It leads so many people to pronounce it indict, but you're saying it must be entirely ignored.
Completely ignored. Indict means to formally charge someone with a crime, putting the stress firmly on D-I-T-E. And the history here is quite telling.
Oh.
The C was actually added centuries ago by Latin scholars. They wanted to visually connect the word to the Latin root dict, which means to declare or to say.
So it was added purely for visual academic flair, even though the letter was never pronounced in the original Old French word from which English borrowed it.
Precisely. It was a purely etymological spelling, not phonetic. This phenomenon, adding silent letters to indicate Latin heritage, also occurs in words like debt, silent B, or receipt, silent P.
That's a deep linguistic insight. Very interesting. You'll hear this term frequently in legal news reports. The grand jury decided to indict her on 3 separate counts, so ignore that C and stress the second syllable in DDE.
You've got it. Next word, vital for learning itself, mnemonics, pronounced mnemonics.
Mnemonics. Okay, here the difficulty lies with that silent initial P, right? Rooted in its Greek heritage. That PN combination signals its ancient history related to pneuma, meaning breath or spirit.
Exactly. Mnemonics are memory aids or devices used for learning. And the word is derived from Mnemosyne, the Greek goddess of memory. They are techniques specifically designed for effective information recall, helping you bypass simple rote memorization.
Like the classic student example, ROYGBIV, to remember the colors of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow.
That's a perfect, simple example. But mnemonics also include much more complex tools like creating detailed memory palaces in your mind or using rhythmic poems to recall scientific formulas or complex historical chronologies. Advanced students rely heavily on these sophisticated systems.
Right. Our final word in this complex spelling set is phlegm, pronounced phlegm. Note the silent G in that short E vowel sound. Phlegm.
Yes. This word presents a wonderful duality of meaning, which makes it interesting. Medically, yes, phlegm is that thick respiratory mucus. But figuratively, and this is more intriguing for advanced usage, it means passionless, calm composure. A distinct lack of outward emotion, almost stoicism under pressure.
Wow, that's quite a contrast. So this allows for highly sophisticated description. While the medical definition is simple, the behavioral use is powerful. You might describe a CEO who addressed a severe financial crisis with absolute phlegm and composure, indicating they never allowed panic or outward emotion to shake their stability.
Exactly. And this figurative meaning connects directly back to the ancient theory of the 4 humors.
Like blood, yellow bile, black bile.
Phlegm. An excess of phlegm in the body was believed to cause a reserved, calm, unemotional temperament. So it's a perfect example of a word where knowing the history really illuminates the nuance of its modern figurative use.
Fascinating. Let's transition now to section 7, describing places, perfection, and wellness. This group offers words that can elevate simple descriptions into something far more insightful.
Indeed. We begin with epitome, pronounced E-P-I-T-M-E. The stress placement on that second syllable, P-I-T, is absolutely crucial here. E-P-I-T-O-M-E.
E-P-O-M-E, okay.
Yeah.
Epitome means a perfect example or the embodiment of a particular quality. It sets the ideal standard. It's like the ultimate representation.
Precisely. We use it to describe the highest realization of a trait. For example, his flawless presentation and courteous interaction with the client was the epitome of professionalism, meaning he demonstrated the ideal standard of that quality.
And its origin is interesting, too. You mentioned it meant to cut short.
Yes, the Greek root originally meant to cut short, like a summary or an abstract, but it evolved over time to mean the perfect summary, the ideal representation, the ultimate exemplar of something.
Neat evolution. Next, a word describing sheer prevalence. Ubiquitous. Pronounced ubiquitous. We need to emphasize the initial U sound and the middle stress on BAK. Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. Ubiquitous means present everywhere, widespread, or omnipresent. And this word perfectly captures the reality of certain aspects of modern life, doesn't it?
It really does. We use it frequently for technology and societal trends. Mobile phones, for instance, have become truly ubiquitous in urban environments pretty much globally now.
Absolutely. And it's a much more powerful and precise word than simply saying common or widespread. Ubiquitous emphasizes the universal pervasive presence of something.
Yeah, if something is so pervasive that it feels like you just cannot escape it, whether it's advertising or social media platforms, ubiquitous is really the only word that truly captures that feeling.
Well said. Then there is salubrious, pronounced su-alo-brious. Clear articulation of all four syllables ensures fluency here. Salubrious.
Salubrious. Salubrious means helpful or beneficial to well-being. It's inherently positive and usually describes an environment or a habitual action that promotes health rather than the person themselves, right?
Generally, yes. Doctors might recommend moving to a more salubrious climate, perhaps near the sea or in the mountains, to aid recovery from an illness. Or we might note that regular long walks in natural parks are a salubrious habit, benefiting both physical and mental wellness. It describes the positive, health-giving quality of an external influence or activity.
Okay. Following that, we have rural, pronounced R-U-R-U. And we must acknowledge the difficulty here of the two consecutive R sounds. That poses a significant articulation challenge for many non-native speakers.
It really does. R-U-R. If you find that double R, difficult, slow, deliberate practice, separating and then blending the sounds, R-U, R-U, R-U-R will definitely help. Rural simply relates to the countryside or rustic life and is a foundational descriptive word for geography.
And we use rural often to contrast lifestyles, right?
Mhm.
Noting perhaps the weaker infrastructure, the reliance on nature, or maybe the slower pace of life found in rural regions compared to the intensity of urban life.
Exactly. It's a fundamental contrast. Finally, in this section, a food word that consistently confuses speakers, quinoa, pronounced quinoa.
Quinoa. Yes, that spelling versus pronunciation is completely counterintuitive. Quinoa looks absolutely nothing like quinoa.
It really doesn't. Quinoa is a highly nutritious grain crop, technically a pseudo-cereal rich in protein and fiber that originated way up in the Andes region of South America. The pronunciation, quinoa, is a direct reflection of the word's origins in the indigenous Quechua language.
Ah, so mastering that quinoa sound is instant proof of linguistic adaptability, of looking beyond English spelling rules.
Precisely, it shows you respect the word's origin.
Okay, we've arrived at our final section. Section 8, Synthesis, Skill, and Practice. This is where we bring together powerful vocabulary related to performance, fortune, morality, and social cohesion. A strong finish.
Let's do it. We begin with repertoire, pronounced repertoire. The challenge here is entirely that French origin again, complicating the ending sound, toire.
Repertoire, okay? Repertoire is the range or collection of works, skills, or capabilities that a person or group can perform or utilize. It describes the accumulated stock of available skills or knowledge they possess.
Exactly. The applications are widespread. A concert pianist's repertoire might span Baroque, Romantic, and modern compositions. That's the collection of pieces they can play.
Right. Or likewise, a seasoned negotiator might be said to have a broad repertoire of tactics and persuasive arguments they can deploy effectively in various situations. It defines their professional capacity, their toolkit.
Well put, their toolkit. Next, a wonderful high-level concept, serendipity. Pronounced ser-on-dipit. Stressing that third syllable, dip, is critical. Ser-on-dipit.
Serendipity. Serendipity is the occurrence and development of events by pure fortunate accident or happy chance, like making desirable discoveries purely by accident.
Yes, and the origin story is one of the best in English, I
Oh,
think.
yeah. Tell us.
It was coined by Horace Walpole back in the 18th century. He was inspired by a Persian fairy tale called The Three Princes of Serendip, Serendip being an old name for Sri Lanka. These princes, the story goes, were always making desirable discoveries by accident and also by their cleverness, their sagacity.
Ah, so that's the key nuance that elevates it beyond just pure luck. Serendipity implies accidental sagacity, the wisdom and preparation required to recognize the value of an unexpected discovery when it happens.
Exactly. It's not just stumbling upon something, it's stumbling upon something and realizing its significance. Many scientific breakthroughs happen through serendipity, where a researcher accidentally notices an unexpected result in an experiment and has the insight, the prepared mind, to realize its importance. Penicillin is a classic example.
Fascinating. Okay, then we have decorum, pronounced D-cor-R-U, with clear emphasis on that second syllable, K-O-R.
Decorum. This relates to sophisticated social conduct. Decorum means proper behavior, good taste, or etiquette appropriate to a specific occasion or situation. It is the awareness of how to behave correctly according to social or professional rules.
Right. So maintaining professional decorum is essential in high-stakes environments. Even in a tense board meeting, you must remain polite and appropriate despite high stress levels, demonstrating control and respect for the setting.
Absolutely. Conversely, a failure to observe proper decorum, perhaps by shouting or dressing inappropriately for a formal occasion, would suggest a profound lack of manners or social awareness. It's about fitting your behavior appropriately to the context.
Got it. Next is debauch, pronounced D-ba-C-H.
Debauch. This word carries dual, highly negative meanings, both relating to moral or physical excess. The French root actually means to lead astray, and its usage reflects that sense of moral decline.
Okay, dual meanings. What's the first?
First, debauch can mean to corrupt morally, to lead someone away from virtue or duty. For instance, an unethical corporate executive might attempt to debauch junior employees by encouraging or normalizing unethical behavior.
Okay, leading astray morally. And the second meaning.
Second, it refers to a period of wild, excessive indulgence and revelry, excessive eating, drinking, and other sensual pleasures. This is often referred to using the noun form, a bout of debauchery.
Ah, debauchery. And the two meanings are often linked.
Very often. You might describe the scene after an unrestrained festival as one of utter debauch, implying both moral corruption in the behavior and just out-of-control partying and excess. It's a very strong negative word reserved for extreme excess and moral decline.
Definitely sounds like it. Our final term, and arguably one of the most positive ones on our list today, is camaraderie, pronounced camaraderie.
Camaraderie. That French influence on the final resound is important for getting the articulation right. The word itself sounds warm and friendly, doesn't it?
It really does, and it is. Camaraderie means mutual trust and friendship among people who spend a lot of time together or share significant experiences. It's that feeling of fellowship, loyalty, and pride within a group, that essential esprit de corps.
Exactly. And it often flourishes under conditions of shared difficulty or intense experience. There's usually genuine camaraderie among the members of a successful military unit who've been through combat together, or a sports team who have struggled and finally won together.
Right. It's the byproduct of shared hardship or shared achievement that forges those strong, lasting friendships based on mutual respect and shared experience. It's a really beautiful word for describing true team cohesion.
It truly is.
But we have completed our deep dive into this remarkable and sometimes challenging collection of English words. We've covered phonetic nightmares, subtle usage differences, and those essential stress points required for true authority in speech.
We certainly have. And I think the key takeaway for everyone listening, especially when you're mastering these tricky pronunciations, is that struggle is a completely normal, healthy part of the learning process.
Yeah.
Honestly, these words challenge even native speakers sometimes.
That is the ultimate reassurance, isn't it? So remember the essential strategies for really boosting your fluency and moving these words from your passive vocabulary, where you just recognize them,
Right.
to your active repertoire, where you use them confidently.
Mm-hmm.
First, dedicate time to listening carefully. Mimicking how advanced speakers produce these sounds. Imitation really builds that muscle memory.
Crucial. Second, always practice breaking down these longer, more complex words into their constituent syllables. That really helps you locate those critical, sometimes hidden stress points like an indite or epitome. Syllable by syllable practice eliminates that hesitation or stuttering.
Yeah, that breakdown is key. And third, repeat them aloud. Not just once silently in your head, but multiple times out loud, until the muscle memory starts to take over and the word begins to feel completely natural in your mouth.
Yes.
The ultimate goal here isn't some impossible standard of perfection. It's about achieving communication clarity and building rock-solid confidence.
Exactly. And here is a provocative thought for you to carry forward. Every single time you noticed and consciously correct mispronunciation, or maybe refine the usage of a word like vicissitude or anathema, you are actively refining your speech muscles. You're significantly accelerating your journey towards true advanced fluency.
So keep training those muscles, utilize these resources, listen actively, and really enjoy the continuous journey of advanced English learning.